I'm an assassin for hire. I don't kill people, but I do kill problems. Problems
Woo.
like scandal on Google.
What is it that you're doing specifically to help them? And who is the client you're looking for that has these types of problems?
What people do is they stop being present, they go underground, they hibernate, like you said, and that's
Totally.
the wrong thing to do. The
Yeah.
right thing to do is what we call resetting the narrative. You got to take
Ooh.
control of the story and let people know your version of events, because if you stay silent, guess what
Yeah.
happens? People are going to believe
Everyone else's
whatever the heck
story.
they see on Google.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm super stoked to have the man in the white jacket. That's right. Rajiv is here with us. Will you please tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, I'm the assassin. I'm an assassin for hire. I don't kill people, but I do kill problems. Problems like scandal on Google. So that's what we do. We can wipe away any negativity, anything bad on Google, social, or the internet. Why? Because people get confused when they see these things on the internet, and it basically drives customers away from really good businesses. And more importantly, if left unattended, it can destroy lives, destroy peace of mind, destroy businesses, families, relationships, and all these things that just are the bedrock of our life, and it destroys the bedrock of our life. So that's why I do what I do.
I love it. I love it. Now, Rajiv, this is something when I first met you, you introduced yourself as the assassin, and I immediately was like, all right, I got to know what this guy does. Like that's a fun intro. I love it. All right, so when you assassinate problems, let's talk about that for a minute. And maybe I need to stop saying assassin, or I'm going to get like Google white flag or red flag or something somewhere. But when you're taking care of these problems, and people have internet problems, most people just kind of hibernate and they stop being present and they don't know how to solve that problem. What is it that you're doing specifically to help them? And who is the client you're looking for that has these types of problems?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And basically, I'll kind of unpack it in two parts. First
Yeah,
part is what people do is they stop being present, they go underground, they hibernate, like you said, and that's
totally.
the wrong thing to do. The
Yeah.
right thing to do is what we call resetting the narrative. You got to take
Ooh,
control of the story and let people know your version of events, because if you stay silent, guess what
yeah.
happens? People are going to believe
Everyone else's
whatever the heck
story.
they see on Google, and then they're
Exactly.
going to be swayed by that, and then things are just going to get worse. They won't improve.
Yep.
So what should people do? They should work at figuring out what their message should be
Yeah.
and what people ought to know about them by association, and then that's
Yeah.
basically what we help the client with on one side of things, which is reset the narrative, give portray, like one of the definitions that of what advertising is. I think the founder of McCann Erickson or Leo Burnett said this, or it maybe
Right.
it was JWT that said advertising is truth well told. Truth well told is advertising. So the client, it behooves the client, or rather the PR agency that's helping the client, to get their story right and say it the right way, so that A, it sounds newsworthy, and B, it gives people an alternative to consider as opposed to whatever they see online. And that's
I love
something
it.
that we're helping the client with, and it includes a couple of things like helping them be an Amazon best-selling author, produce their podcast, as well as get them to speak on large stages like the United Nations, where I literally just came from today.
I
So
love it.
that's the that's those are all components of resetting the narrative. And on the flip side of that, we're also
Yeah.
helping clients by wiping away the bad stuff, the scandal, the misinformation, the alternative facts, whatever adverb you like. We get that gone from the internet, because if it is allowed to remain on the internet, people are going to see
Yeah.
it, believe it, and then think the worst of the client and
For sure.
advocate for others not to work with the client either. So it's like a
For
double
sure.
whammy. Yeah.
For sure. I had a very micro version of this happen to me like 3 years ago where I had liked specific things on Twitter and I didn't even post it. I just liked it. And I had a potential client I had been negotiating with for like 3 weeks on a deal. And she sends me this email saying, Todd, I just noticed that you liked some things that conflict with my beliefs. And I was like, She's like, I can't work with you. And I was like,
So what? Yeah.
you're telling me that I know. No, it was extreme. But I was like, I guess I don't really want to work with people like you, first of all. But
Yeah.
I thought, what a weird thing that here we were negotiating something completely unrelated to what I
Yeah.
liked. And she chose to look it up and like deep dive into me before she started to work with me. That's the kind of people you're talking about, right? Like maybe they didn't even do anything that bad, but because it cast a negative light on one aspect of their life, you can get that removed. And so I like your concept of just like flooding with better information and a better truth about who you are and how you work. But how do you actually do the removal? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so basically, when it comes to removal, there are two issues to contend with. Issue number
Yeah,
one is there any legal proceeding going on? Is this in court? Is it ongoing case or is it a closed
sure.
case? And what was the outcome of that case? So, assuming it's an ongoing case, then you can't do anything about it at the moment as far as getting things deleted from Google
Right.
because it's an ongoing case. There's no outcome yet.
Sure.
Assuming
Sure.
that there is an outcome, and you have the supporting to show that, hey, look, see, you see this over here? I was acquitted. I was found innocent
Right.
without prejudice, blah, blah. So you have
Right.
that and you use that. We use that to petition the platform to get that story removed from their website. And that's basically how we deliver those outcomes.
That's
And
awesome.
we're doing two things. We're just to
Yeah.
clarify, we're getting the link removed from the Google search result. And
Yeah.
in addition to that, we're also getting the story, the content removed from the source. So the source could
Oh,
be the
nice.
press outlet, it could be the social
Yeah.
platform, it could be the TikTok video, the Instagram, whatever, a tweet, a review, it could be anything. Any piece of content that lives on the internet. So we're getting it removed from the platform on which people are seeing it.
I love it. Okay, this is a really cool problem that you're solving. And I would imagine that the people that are most concerned about this are not teenagers, even though it's the most important thing in their life. But this is for business owners, right? This is for people who have some influence, who really don't want people to know about something that may have happened 15 years ago that was a nothing issue, but it did get posted about. Like, who's your avatar?
Yeah. So our ICP are, I mean, if you permit a little humor, I say my ideal clients are millionaires and billionaires that do dumb shit. That is one category of clients. But then the
Love
flip
it.
side of that is there is someone adjacent to this millionaire or billionaire that is in fact having a lapse in judgment and causing for them to come into the spotlight, and because of their association, they're somebody's sibling, relative, whatever. Now the
Right, right,
millionaire or
right.
billionaire is being pulled out of anonymity where they like to be and into the spotlight where they definitely do not like to be. So that's
That's
basically what's
interesting.
happening. And so this is so our typical ICP or ideal customer profile is the high net worth individual who
Yeah.
is doing this not just for vanity. In fact, it's more so because this is it's impeding deals from closing. It's
Yes.
making deals go slower, and that's
Right.
hurting his top line. Forget the bottom line. It's
Yes.
hurting the top line. That's part one. That's the most important reason. The second is that it is infringing on their peace of mind, and it's also infringing on their privacy. So,
Well, when you consider most people of high net worth, one deal or one relationship could equate to $1 million a year in revenue. If you've got, let's say, 20 deals that happened that year, and you lost two of them because of that, that's $2 million in lost revenue that you would have had. I mean, this is a big deal when
it
it comes
is.
to deal flow. And
It
so
is.
so this problem that you're solving is so awesome. How long have you been doing this? And talk to us about the growth journey that you've seen from your first case to now, and how are you more efficient than you may have been on the earlier cases?
Yeah. So the thing is that earlier our approach. So I've been doing this since 2013. My
Awesome.
last corporate job was senior vice president at Citibank, taking care of customer acquisition for the bank, for merchant
Yeah.
banking and cards. And after I
Yeah.
stepped away from that, I co-founded RSquaredMedia. So I've been doing
Yeah.
this ever since. So I've been doing this, like I said, since 2013, 10 plus years since.
Cool.
That's for as long as I've been doing it. And
Yeah.
with the advancement in technology, earlier the solution was more so about suppression, but then
Yeah.
it very quickly pivoted. We pivoted to including removals and deletion. as part of
Cool.
our suite of services, because most people have the idea that whatever's on the internet is forever. And that is potentially true, but it actually isn't. Because if you
Interesting.
know someone like me, the assassin, friendly neighborhood assassin, who can get it gone for you, then yes, then it is in fact not forever. It is very limited and we can make it so.
Friendly neighborhood assassin. That's awesome. Okay. So the friendly neighborhood assassin jumps in and he takes your problem from 10 years ago or 15 years ago and he makes it go away. Now, this is an awesome problem to solve. You talked about the two strategies you have. You're one, eliminating the problem from where people can see it, and secondly, you are helping to suppress it by adding so much good content, so much good information around them that it at the top, first few pages of search, it's all good stuff, right? I mean, that's essentially what
Correct.
we're talking about. So,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
you
So we're
talked
getting
to,
it gone and putting the good things up front.
I love it. I love it. So you mentioned kind of lightly there that I'm super intrigued by something about United Nations. Like, what in the world is that all about? Why were you speaking at United Nations today? Like, what does this mean for your clients in terms of opportunities to do stuff like that?
Right. So my thank you for that. My journey with the United Nations began in 2020, where I spoke for the very first time at the World Homelessness Summit. The topic of my
Interesting.
speech was solving homelessness by leveraging coaching and technology. And after my speech, the country of Malawi, which is in Africa,
Yeah.
demanded that I help them solve child homelessness in Malawi. So
Wow.
first of all, yeah. So first of all, it was a huge honor to be asked to speak at the United Nations. And then further, the feather in or the cherry on the cake was that after my speech, a country asked for my help. So just to talk like brass tacks and numbers, my
Yeah.
small investment of 15,000 to speak at the United Nations converted into a $250,000 deal with the government of Malawi. So it was no, obviously when I spoke at the United Nations, I did not have any, like interest, or I wasn't thinking that if I spend 15, I'm going to get a 10x return. I wasn't thinking like
Right.
that at all. I was just thinking because I wanted to speak at the UN because it was a dream, it was an aspiration, it was on my
Sure.
bucket list, and I wanted to do
Sure.
it because I wanted to do it. It was that thing about reaching for the stars, and at this point, that resembled the star.
That's
So
awesome.
that's why I did it.
I am so glad you're here, and I just wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about a program that we have assembled with a lot of our podcast guests and a lot of people who are listening to the show who are feeling the same way that they do. There's a recurring theme. You'll hear a lot of these founders talk about, I couldn't have done it without my team. I couldn't have done it without a support group of peers. I couldn't have done it without having someone to talk to that understood my feeling of isolation as an operator of my business. You see, you're not alone. It is hard running a business, and it's even harder when you know you can't express all your deepest concerns and frustrations with your executive team. It makes them nervous. It gets them scared. You don't want scared people on your executive team. So where do you turn? The Captain's Council is where you turn. The Captain's Council, it is an organization that we are put together with podcast guests, as well as people who are listening who are in the same boat. You see, peers are the only ones that can give you the type of empathy, the type of advice that only a founder or operator know and understand. Go check it out at captainscouncil.com. I know you're going to love what you see there. We have put together an organizational structure that has small group settings, a global community of founders and operators, as well as monthly and quarterly in-person events. You're going to love what you see there. I can't wait for you to check it out and enjoy the rest of this episode. That's fascinating. That's actually really, really cool. I didn't even think of that aspect of it, of having the people that are watching it are a lot of countries around the world trying to establish economic normality.
Decision
And
makers.
yeah, the decision makers are actually trying to like reach out and say, how would I incorporate this in our economy? And that's a very valid point.
Exactly. So you have to, because the thing is that it's all about location, location, location. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you have the right message, and if that message is married with the right location, you have the potential for big success, as it was in my case. So when it comes to helping people reposition themselves, reset the
Yeah,
narrative, it's about getting their message correct. Because if you're going to be blah, boring, meh, and dry, nobody cares. But if
totally.
you have a newsworthy, catchy, juicy, interesting story that resonates with people, in the heart and in the mind,
Totally.
then you have the recipe for a potential success, and that's basically what we help clients with.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, it's funny that you talk about this because my previous podcast guest, just an hour ago, was talking to me about social media influencers, and you're talking about world influencers. And so this is like a very interesting dynamic of Gen Z solving that problem, and you're a Gen X or millennial solving this global awareness problem. I think it's interesting the different stages of that you're even talking about. They're two very different stages, but both important, and how a business or a person of influence positions themselves in the world.
Exactly.
Okay, this is really cool. So as you solve this problem for people, let's talk about the actual business side of what you do. Like you onboard a client, and you solve this problem, and then to your point, most people with this problem have a sibling, a cousin, a friend in their circle who also does stupid stuff, and you're solving their problems. How has this evolved, and is there a thing you can look back on, to 2013, between then and now, that you did to operationalize this better, to make the
Yeah.
system run smoother, that you can pinpoint?
Yeah. So initially, when I started this out, I had a notion as to who my ICP was, as far
Yeah,
as end customer, but also referral partner. So I was going
totally.
after attorneys, I was going after recruiters, and sure, I've worked with attorneys and recruiters and a bunch of them, but I
Yeah,
narrowed it down because I was paying attention to the trends and looking
yeah.
at what converted the fastest. And it was the marketing and PR agencies, specifically internet marketing agency owners, that were super happy to partner with me because they white labeled my service and added a healthy
Ah,
200 or 300% markup. And it was the
nice.
easiest money they ever made. And that's what
Wow.
turned out to be the money spinner and the cash cow, which allowed
Yeah,
me to really scale this business. Because earlier, when I started this, reputation
yeah,
management was maybe 10% of my revenue. Now it's
yeah.
85% of my revenue. So it's grown like
I love
crazy.
it.
And it's all inbound. So I mean, people know about me, the right people know about me, and I'm on fast dial by saying, "Hey Rajiv, can
Okay.
you bazooka this for me?" So one of our services, which is our removal service, is called Bazooka, because
Yeah.
I'm all about coming up with names that A, aren't boring, but B, are memorable, and you
Yeah.
understand with the word what it means or what it implies. So the removal service is called Bazooka because Bazooka gets rid of things. Not that I've ever
you,
fired a bazooka ever, maybe someday,
yeah,
but that's
but
what a
you
bazooka
probably
does.
couldn't say nuke and feel good about that.
No, but that would be a little bit too extreme, I think. Yeah,
I love it. I
I
love
have
it.
limits too.
Well, this is really cool because you just kind of solved a problem that I think a lot of my listeners have. And a lot of people on my podcast listening table are people who are in that like $2 to $20 million revenue range, and they kind of get stuck because they A, don't nail their ICP down, and B, they don't know how to talk to them the right way. And what you just described in a very, very quick fashion was two things I want to hit on. One, you found that you did find the right avatar based on the trends you were watching and how you fixed their problems, and yes, you made a referral network happen. But secondly, you went to the people who were already working with your client and made it easy for them to plug you in to their solutions. And this is, again, so simple to say, but so overlooked by people. They just don't see how they fit inside of someone else who's already talking to your client and working with them, and you just nailed that. So walk us through why people don't do that very often, and what is your opinion on why that step gets overlooked so often?
Yeah, because most people have a scarcity mindset. If you have
Yes.
an abundance mindset and you look towards the world with opportunity and a spirit of collaboration, you will
Yeah.
see a multitude of opportunities surrounding you. But if you're always looking at someone either with a zero sum game mentality where
Yeah.
somebody has to lose for you to win, or with that kind of mindset, then you're not going to be able to really see the full potential of the
Yeah.
opportunities that come your way. In my view, people that I might compete with for things like SEO and video production, content creation, etc., website design, etc. But I
Right.
partner with them in a very successful manner on reputation management, and it's
Right.
a win-win. For It's the clients happy, they're happy, and I'm happy, and it's a
Right.
win-win-win.
Right. 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 I love it. And providing win-win-wins are something that a lot of people think are unachievable. What was the first scenario where you found yourself in a position to be like, hey, dude, let me white label with you. You just plug me into your existing solution. And how did that go?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee. Part
Yeah.
of the story is that I think when I was being conceived, or when I was, I don't know, 2 months in my mom's belly, she watched a Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon, and that might have something to do with my fascination with Bruce Lee. But
Be like
Bruce Lee
water.
has, yeah, Bruce Lee has this very famous saying, which is "be like water." So, be like water is that water finds its own level. It takes the shape of the container that you put it in, and it
Yeah.
basically just finds a way. So the point is, if you make it super easy for people to work with you, you can
Yeah.
make anything happen. And in my case, I discovered a very easy, simplistic way that was not confrontational. It was very collaborative. It was a
Yeah.
win-win for the person I was speaking to. I was only thinking about how they benefit, the what's in it for me. And once all of that just came together, distilled in a very super easy, succinct way, it became easy for them to understand. And I also made it super easy for them to work with me as well,
I love it.
which was the recipe that made this work.
I love it. And I just got to say, like probably 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, I co-hosted an event with a buddy. And our whole theme was a picture of Bruce Lee with a ping pong paddle saying, be like water. And it was like, I love that you brought that back into my mind because I totally agree with that. When you are able to fit in where it works best for you, you're able to just kind of reposition. Wonderful things start to happen, and you also start to fill in the cracks of areas for that person you're fitting into their bubble with, in areas they don't want to be in. And so I really appreciate you bringing that up. And yes, Bruce Lee lives on through all of us, doesn't he? But dude, Rajiv, so as you started to grow the business and you started to kind of perfect that affiliate nature or the white label relationship model, um, what were some unexpected challenges with that? I mean, were there cases where people tried to backdoor the referral partner? I mean, how do you navigate kind of being that good plug and play partner?
Yeah, so basically, like I said, keep it real simple. So one way to keep it simple was tell the client, like my agency partner, by saying, hey, you can either send the client my way, or you keep the relationship. I'll even prepare a deck for you. You
Yeah,
slap your logo on it and send it to the client. Client pays you, you pay me. Honestly, I don't even need to meet the client. And
yeah,
sometimes that worked beautifully. That was music for their ears, because
yeah,
most agencies are paranoid about losing that connection with
yeah,
a pre-existing client, and they want to be that medium, the channel, the conduit through which the communication flows. And I totally get that. And I made it so that this arrangement did not threaten that in any way, shape, or form. They could still
right,
look like the hero to their clients and
totally,
make a killing while doing so. So that kind of solved for many things. And then other partnerships were where they didn't want to get in the middle. They said, "Hey, I know a guy. Talk to the assassin. He'll take care of you," and that's it.
right,
So the point is,
right,
like, it works either way, because in either case, the the referring partner gets a rev share. I get paid, the client gets taken care of, so it's a win-win-win right through. It just depends on
I love
what
it,
the referring partner prefers, and
I
I'm
love it,
fine with either. So having that flexibility of being okay with either, I think, is something that is super attractive
yeah,
to many people. And secondly, also offering many guarantees, like having a money back guarantee, putting it in writing, being accessible, being willing to
yeah,
jump on a Zoom call many
love
times,
it,
meeting in person if needed, if they're local in New
love
York
it,
City. So all these things kind of just added to that high trust factor, high confidence factor, high dependability, reliability factor, and also being super easy to work with. That's really important, because you could be a genius, but if you're difficult to work with, it's not going to work.
Amen. Honestly, a lot of people do try to pride themselves on their procedures and the way they have to do the thing that they do. But being flexible and being able to be, client satisfaction is the name of the game. And when you're dealing with people who are dealing with clients who need a good end result, you have to be a good end result for them too. And they have to feel like you're on their team.
Exactly.
What do you see as like typical problems with people who, because you've now worked with several, like lots of different companies, lots of PR groups. What do you think that you've done differently than others to make yourself a unique partner that they want to continue to refer?
Yeah. So number one, it's obviously being super easy to work with. That's
Yeah.
that's important. But beyond that, it's delivering results consistently
Ooh,
and
yeah, that's kind of a
results.
big deal.
Yeah, and results that they can depend on. So, for example, most people are still under the impression that you cannot delete anything from Google. And I
Yeah,
say, well, you can. And we do it and we show it to them, and they're like aghast with surprise and awe. And they're like, oh my God, I love you, I love
that's
you. So I'm
awesome.
going to work with you all the time. I'm like, sure, anytime, just call me.
Awesome.
And then also, I make myself available in all formats. You want to send me an email? No problem. You want to text me? No problem. Want to call me?
Yeah,
No
yeah,
problem. You want to WhatsApp me? No problem. So the point is, it gives people a lot of confidence that I'm accessible. And if they
yeah,
want to meet me in person, they can. They can actually press skin against me and actually shake my hands if they want to. So the point is, it
totally.
gives people a lot of confidence in choosing me and to continue to choose me, because it's not just that I talk a good game, but I actually deliver results.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
deliver results quickly. I get the job done right the first time. And these are all recipes that kind of add to a very high trust factor, because you
love
could
it.
have the best marketing, but if your end product sucks,
Yep.
you're gonna lose people after the first purchase.
Amen, dude. Listen, Rajiv, this is all really, really good information, and I didn't know where this conversation was going to go today exactly, but I'm glad it went here because for those listening, as you are trying to grow and scale your business, you need to absolutely think of who is already talking to your client avatar. Sometimes it's hard for you to build the perfect Google campaign and the right Facebook strategy, but when you already know that there's a person working with them already and it's a relatable thing that you kind of blend with, don't be afraid to be the water. Don't be afraid to go fit a different way and provide the solution to people that are already working with your client. And I think that, Rajiv, is something that most people don't think about the right way. And that's why most people don't grow and scale their businesses.
That's right.
Love it. Love it. And you've since grown the business. You've been seeing a phenomenal growth rate. And with this whole United Nations thing, I'm curious to see, like, that's got to be a pretty big highlight for a lot of your clients to be able to have that opportunity.
Yes, yes, because speaking at the United Nations means that you've arrived in life, and it gives you a street cred that means that you're someone. Because the United
Interesting.
Nations doesn't let Joe Schmo off the street come and speak, right? You got to be someone. You got to be someone of some repute, some
Right.
expertise, some level of
Right.
like an expert, a leader, an influencer to speak at the UN. So when you speak at the UN, you are then seen as such automatically. And
I
that's the
love it.
reason why many people yearn. It's their wet dream to speak at the UN. And of course, when they speak at the UN, they're like, yes, I spoke at the UN. Now you got to respect it because I'm a UN speaker. So
I love
it's
it.
kind of
I
like
love
that.
it.
And the UN,
It's kind of like a step up from the TEDx.
oh, yeah, it's the Super Bowl of stages. It really is. It is the Super
Awesome.
Bowl of stages. It's the largest stage there is, and it's the stage where governments are listening. You
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
again, not knocking small business,
Yeah.
big respect to small business, but this is several levels above that. So if you want
I
to
love
really
it.
up level your game, you got to be where the big boys are, and
Yep.
there's
Yep.
nothing bigger than the UN.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And I really hope those of you listening, if you're interested in needing an assassin or needing that stage in your life or in your business or for your clients, please, please, please don't hesitate. We've got links down below of how to connect with Rajiv and his team and how they can incorporate your strategy with his. And so please don't hesitate to do that. And Rajiv, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us today.
Sure. And can I just say my cell number so people can like text me if they hear this? It's
Sure.
646-249-3561. No prank calls, please, but 646-249-3561.
I love it. Okay. Write it down. We'll put it in the show notes. And Rajiv, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And for those listening, do check it out. Be thinking of your own reputation, your clients' reputations. We all know people that do stupid crap. Get them over to Rajiv. Let's solve their problems and take the lessons that he learned in networking and white labeling and being that affiliate partner that people love to work with. You will see growth and scaling happen. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, what did you think of that interview with Rajiv? He is amazing. I love the problem that he solves. I love how he does it. And I love how he grew and scaled his business. You know, using people that are already talking to your avatar are some of the best, most, fastest way to grow and scale your company. And I always suggest to people, who else is talking to your avatar? And to be honest, a lot of you probably don't have a very clear image of who your avatar even is. So if you're one of those people and you're not sure who your ideal client avatar is, you need to check it out. You need to dive deep and figure out what that person looks and feels like and what they want and the problem they need solved, and make sure you're solving it for them. And then second step, to go next level, like Rajiv did, figure out who else is working with that person, and you are going to grow and scale in a way you never knew you could. And it's cheaper than you knew you could because they're already talking to the person. Just share your revenue with them and you can find yourself in a really good place. So enjoy. I'm glad you enjoyed the episode. If you don't know what your growth problem is, I highly recommend you go to growthreadiness.com, growthreadiness.com. That's my place where you can take a free assessment and understand what is keeping you from growing and scaling the way you want to. Check it out at growthreadiness.com, and we will catch up with you on the next episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Thanks.